The first question is one for you. It is this program open to sole traders?
So sole traders and partnerships are not eligible for this program. The reason for this is to manage constitutional risk. To be eligible, businesses need to be incorporated in Australia and they also need to be a trading corporation.
And does that cover partnerships as well?
Yes, so partnerships unfortunately, are not eligible either for the program.
Right. The second question that's come through, Brenda, it's for you.
Yes.
What information do I have to or should I include in my application?
Excellent. Thanks, Jan. That's a great question. So, what applicants need to consider, and this is the prep time that you should be using between now and when the program opens on the 4th of November, is to pull together your project plan, a project budget. Also, speak to your accountant about a declaration stating that your company's revenue is majority from trading activities, or that's a significant proportion of your total revenue, and pull that together also with evidence of your funding strategy. So, how will you fund the 50% co-contribution that you need to bring in with the project? So it's really important in that project plan to consider what the assessment criteria are and then look at how you describe your project in that project plan so that the assessment team can really understand what your project is about and how it is going to benefit your business to either scale up or diversify. So it's really important that you go through that project plan and really work out how you're just going to describe the project and provide sufficient information so that the assessment of your project really understands those elements.
Terrific. Thank you, Brenda. Perhaps this one for Linda. Are you there, Linda?
Yes, I am, Jan. I can hear you perfectly.
Oh, terrific. Can I apply if I am not in a region of growth?
Yes, absolutely. As I briefly explained, if you are located in a region of growth, you will get a priority because, as I said, that's where the Australian government is putting its emphasis in terms of developing particularly infrastructure and supply chains in those regions. But you are eligible if you are located outside of region of growth as well.
Thank you, Linda. The next one's semi-related, actually. Brenda, does the business need to be based in Northern Australia or does the project need to occur in Northern Australia?
Thanks, Jan. Very happy to clarify that. So, your business does not need to be based in Northern Australia, but the project needs to be based in Northern Australia and providing a significant benefit to Northern Australia. So, it's really about we want to see projects that are going to create jobs and diversify our economy in Northern Australia, but you're not excluded if your business is headquartered down south or outside Northern Australia. So, yes, the project and the benefit needs to be coming into Northern Australia, but your business does not need to be headquartered here.
Terrific. Another one for you, Brenda. When can I start incurring costs for my project?
A very important question to ensure that any costs that you are incurring are eligible. So there's a couple of steps with this. The only costs that are classed as eligible and for you to be spending are once we have provided you with notification that you have been successful in your application. So you cannot spend money on the project prior to being told that you're successful and for it to be eligible. So if you're if you're engaging a consultant to help you with your project plan prior to you submitting it, that's before you've become notified that you're successful. So that cost is not an eligible activity. So in the guidelines, there's a full list of eligible activities and they can't occur until you've been told you're successful, and then they need to occur prior to the end date of your project. So can't be more clear on that. Please do not incur costs prior to being told you're successful, or they will become ineligible costs. And then the guidelines will outline what is classed as an eligible cost and what's an ineligible cost.
Thanks, Brenda. That's a really important point. The next one, perhaps Linda, you could answer this one. Can I use in kind for my co-contribution? In kind meaning non-cash.
Thanks, Jan. No, grants made available by the Australian government need to be matched by cash, and there are a range of sources where you can, I guess, access funding. That could be from another grants program. It could be in the form of a loan from a bank, but it definitely just needs to be matched by cash.
Terrific. Thank you. Brenda, this is one to do with the timing for applications. When do applications actually close?
Okay, so with this particular program, we've tried to make it as business friendly as possible. So the program, you may notice, for those who have read all of the detail, that it indicates that the program's not closing, I think, until 2024. What we're doing is we will assess it, we'll do assessment rounds. So this first assessment round, we will take applications up until close of business on the 10th of December, and that will be assessed in the first round. And then going forward, we will be assessing rounds 3 to 4 times per year, and we will advertise those dates on business.gov.au. We'll also indicate those in our the Office of Northern Australia's newsletter that comes out. So if you haven't signed up for that newsletter, please sign up. At the end, we'll put up the details again. But yes, that's so assessed in rounds, but open. So you can submit your project at any time. My advice would be submit it as soon as you can, so that it's in and can make that first assessment round, which will close on the 10th of December.
Thank you, Brenda. 10th of December it is. How will the applications be assessed? Maybe you could step us through the pathway.
Okay, thanks, Jen. So the way that they'll be assessed is we'll pull the assessment batch after the 10th of December. The Business Grants Hub, which sits with Department of Industry, will do an initial eligibility assessment. So they'll assess that all of the applications that have been received, whether they're eligible or not. If they're not eligible, that's as far as they go. If they're eligible, they then move to the next level, where they are assessed against the merit criteria that are included in the guidelines. That assessment is then provided through to the assessment committee, and the assessment committee then makes recommendations to the minister, and the minister's decision is the final approval for then the awarding of grants, which, as Linda mentioned, will be in February next year.
Thank you very much. This is a good question. Maybe you and Linda might like to address this one. What kinds of projects do you
Sorry, Jen, you just broke up.
will be successful?
Okay. Linda, do you want to go first, or do you want me to jump in?
Sorry, this is.
I'm sorry, I missed the full question. You froze on my screen. Could I have you repeat it, please, Jen?
Sorry, Linda, it's a good one too. What kinds of projects do you expect will be successful?
I'm happy to start that one, Jan. I guess in simplest terms, those that best meet the assessment criteria. So I guess without sounding too glib, it's really important in your application that you do address those assessment criteria. And if you're having difficulty in interpreting them or working out how they might apply to your project, then reach out for some help. Brenda, did you want to add something to that?
All I wanted to add is that we've specifically kept this program broad. So we haven't targeted a specific type of industry. So we're hoping to see successful projects across all industries and across all of Northern Australia. So we've kept it broad for that reason, and we're really hoping to see projects that will create jobs and will build a more resilient economy. So looking for projects across a range of industries.
Thank you, Brenda. And that relates to another question we've had, which says, I don't recall seeing any sector preference in the guidelines. Are there any specific priorities for sectors?
So no, there's no sector priorities. We haven't made this project specific on particular sectors because we want to be able to diversify the economy across the north, and that means being able to support a range of different types of industries.
Terrific, very broad remit. This Brenda, probably one for you here. Is this an industry or infrastructure program?
Good question, and an interesting question with Office of Northern Australia recently being moved from Department of Industry into the Department of Infrastructure. So the program is to support businesses. So it is an industry focused program, as in we are really trying to create jobs and diversify businesses and make them more resilient. From an infrastructure point of view, we have included infrastructure as an eligible activity. So in some programs that's not eligible. In this particular program, infrastructure is an expense that is eligible within your project.
Terrific. There's a question about, is there a relative weighting in the assessment criteria, Brenda, of benefits across jobs, social, environmental, and revenue to your own business? So that goes to the assessment criteria, I believe.
Yep. So there's two assessment criteria for the business, the first stream, and they will contribute equally across each of those assessment criteria. They're not weighted. And same with the industry ones as well.
Terrific. I think that's the bulk of the questions. An important one, where should we direct our queries? To ONA or business.gov.au?
Okay, that's a really good question. I would ask everybody to direct their questions in the first instance to business.gov.au. The reason for that is that they will be talking to a lot of applicants, so they're across a lot of questions, and it also allows them to capture all of those questions and build them back into the frequently asked questions so that other applicants that might have similar questions to what you're asking, they can access that information at any time. So it's really important if we can have all inquiries directed through business.gov.au or their hotline, which is 132846. That number again is 132846. If you can start there, if business.gov.au can't answer a question, they will come back to us as the policy owners and seek clarification, and we'll get an answer back to you as soon as we can.
Thank you, Brenda. And there's a few detailed questions which may be more for Business Grants Hub, but there's a question about when will the grant application template be available online?
So the way it's working at the moment online, there is a sample application form, which is a Word version. So it describes what the questions will be on the actual application form, and it describes the word count and what the size is that you can include in each of those fields, and what's a essential field that you do need to answer. the actual application form for you to be able to enter your information on won't be available until the program opens on the 4th of November. So that's why we've included that sample application form so that you can have a look at it now. You can look at what the questions are. You can start preparing your answers, and then you'll be able to cut and paste those into the actual form when that becomes available when the program opens on the 4th of November.
4th of November. Right. Can local councils apply, Brenda?
No, local councils can't apply to the program. They have to be an incorporated within Australia, and they need to be a trading corporation.
Terrific. There is another important question here. Is there a priority rating for Indigenous-led projects?
So Indigenous-led projects and Indigenous businesses and Indigenous employment are all areas that we are looking to support, and there will be prioritisation given through the merit assessment criteria if you are an Indigenous business when you're applying with your application.
Terrific. There's another question here. How many rounds of funding are we expecting for people who don't think they can get their application ready by the 10th of December?
It's a really good question. And if I had a crystal ball, I'd probably have a better answer. Because this is the first time this program, it's a brand new program, we haven't seen what the appetite is. We're very aware from talking to stakeholders that there is a real need for business grants to really grow the economy in the north and to support businesses to scale up. So we are expecting to see a lot of applications come through, but at this stage it's unclear what that volume will be. We would be hoping to be able to be doing the next assessment round early next year, but we will need to see what the appetite is for grants in this first assessment round. So what I would encourage people to lodge their applications by the 10th of December if they can, but I do note that you've got to have time to be able to get it ready and to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. So you do need to work through that, and you need to consider when's best to apply from a business point of view. So I guess my advice would be, don't be run by government timetables. You need to think about when this works for your business.
Thank you, Brenda. There's a question about the expected trading history to qualify as a trading entity. Is there a requirement like 2 to 3 years for the business corporations?
No, so we haven't put in a time frame. What we've just said is that you need to be trading. We had a lot of discussion about whether there should be a time frame. Lots of other grants programs have a minimum of 2 years or 3 years of trading. We decided just to go with trading, as in you need to be trading, because there are brand new businesses that may have only been operating for the last 6 months. People change businesses. We want to understand what your project is and what your capability is to deliver it, rather than only be looking at how long you've been trading for as a history. So the answer is no. There is no time limit on how long you have to have been trading for, or no minimum trade.
Thank you. A related question, how can we gain a priority ranking?
Sorry, Jen, you just broke up there. Could you re-ask that one?
Yeah, it relates to the regions of growth again. Can I become a priority applicant if I am applying from outside of the ROGs?
So it depends, I think, and Linda, please jump in if I'm not answering this correctly. It depends where your project is. So you could be a business that is outside of a ROG, but the project that you are proposing sits within a ROG. That would give you that prioritization, because the business that you are then either scaling up with and creating jobs would sit within a region of growth.
Yeah, that's right, Brenda. I think if you could demonstrate linkage to or benefit within the region of growth, then your application is potentially prioritised.
Yes, there's other variations of this question. If you are not in industries, e.g. tourism, for the region of growth, will you be ruled out or at a disadvantage?
So I might tackle that one first, Brenda, and I'm happy for you to jump in. The regions of growth are geographic areas. So even though that slide that I used talked about the industries that are most prospective within those regions of growth, the application process and the grant assessment is agnostic to sector. So regions of growth do offer a priority. But I would strongly encourage you, if you have a good business idea and you can demonstrate your compliance with the assessment criteria, then don't let the regions of growth be a barrier to your application.
Yes, indeed. Brenda, this is a fairly process question. Can applications be started and saved so that you
So
can
you
gather
broke up.
input and information? Oh, sorry. It's a process question, Brenda. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay. Can applications be started and saved to gather input and information as you go? So can you start and go back to it? In other words.
I'm 98% sure that you can. You won't be able to do it until the 4th of November once it opens, but you do create a login. So you log into the system, and then I'm very sure that you'll be able to add information into it and then go backwards in and out of it. And then when you're happy with your application, you will hit submit.
Makes sense. Brenda, another one relating to the co-contribution. Are cash co-contributions staggered throughout the project, or do you have to provide it all up front?
Okay, so that'll depend on your project and how your project rolls out. When in your application, you will need to provide evidence of your contribution, but it can be in a way of when that those funds will be required. So you might have a milestone at 9 months where you're going to need X amount of dollars to be able to purchase a piece of equipment. So we would need to see in your project plan and your project budget how you will have access to those dollars at that particular time. So it's not that I need evidence up front of all of that money sitting in your bank account from day one, but we need to be able to see how you will have that money when you require it. And that can be, as Linda had mentioned, it can be from another government grant, it can be from a private investment, it can be from your bank account, it can be from a loan. So there's many different channels that co-contribution may come from.
Thank you. Brenda, can applications be submitted with a security classification like privacy protected for confidential
I would expect that. I heard most of it, and I just clarify people asking how to ensure that their information that they submit would be kept in confidence.
That's correct.
Yeah. So all material that is submitted will be treated as commercial in confidence and will be managed in that way. So it won't be shared.
Thank you for that clarification. And there's a question here about the industry transformation grant stream. If your project, once it's established, leads to 20 plus employees, can you apply for the industry transformation grant if you have less than 20 employees at the time of lodging the application?
No, you would need to have 20 employees at time of lodging the application.
Sorry,
So
I missed
because
Jen,
that, oh, you go, Linda.
So Brenda, absolutely spot on. I would just add that perhaps there is potential to have consecutive grant processes. So as Brenda said, if you have less than 20 to start with, then you would need to come through the business development grant stream. But it may be the case that when you're ready to apply for an industry transformation grant, you have more than 20 employees.
Yes, there's nothing to say that you can't apply a second time. So yes, you could go through one project and then you could be applying for another one.
Lovely. Thank you. There is a question about an application with several components, so like a feasibility study, environmental approval, and a process design. Should they apply separately for the 3 parts or bundle the 3 activities into one project?
So that's really a business decision of how they want to stagger their particular project and whether they have the co-contribution to be able to support the project as a whole. So it really comes down to the business. There's no advantage or disadvantage from our point of view. Obviously, the difficulty I would see in splitting those things out is being able to demonstrate the full outcomes of the particular project. Would be the difficulty if they were then trying to separate them into 3 different projects, whereas as one, you might find that one hinges on the other to be able to deliver the outcomes. But obviously, you can only apply for a project that you can provide the co-contribution for, so you need to be able to think that through as well, and a project that you have the capability of delivering.
Thank you very much, Brenda. Linda, this might be one for you. I'm applying for funding for a business case or feasibility study to be completed. Do you or the program administrators have a list of providers who we can engage or appoint?
So the short answer is no, Jan, we're not running a preferred supplier list. I think, again, that's a business decision for who would provide the best service to your business.
Lovely, thank you. I think perhaps the most important question is, are the slides going to be made available?
That's a good question. I think all of the information that is on the slides is on an information sheet as well, but I don't see any reason why we couldn't put the slide presentation on the website as well. So yes, we'll make the slide presentation available.
Thank
And
you
we'll
very
also,
much.
the other thing, just because I'm sure that you've loved spending all this time with us, the webinar will be available on our YouTube channels. So, if you've got nothing better to do with your time and you want to watch it again, or if you have other businesses that you feel would benefit, please let them know that they can watch it if they were unable to attend today. And we will be doing another webinar in November. Jen, I think you've just broken up again there.
Have I? Yes, I'm
Yep.
back here. Something that's been raised a couple of times is there's some difficulty in accessing the sample application form. So we'll just double check that that is available on the web page.
Okay, yep, we'll follow that up for you. Thank you.
Jan, one thing we haven't received any questions to date on is the business advisory service. So I just thought I'd put a short plug in for that eligible businesses can receive a business advisor, a business facilitator, which really goes to one of our core objectives about raising business capability and developing business roadmaps that help build resilience into the future. So if that's of interest to you, and in fact, in some cases you might need to commit to participating in that in terms of agreeing to a grant, then yes, please go to the website and check out the details on that.
Yep, I just jump in and add that in talking to various businesses offered by Entrepreneurs Program, many have reported that although they were interested in the grant, the most, but that they received a huge benefit from having the advisory service work with them. So we're hoping that we see businesses see real value in having that advisory service alongside the grant. So Jan, if there's no more questions, we can wrap up and give people 8 minutes of their life back if we like. Any last questions?
Yes, yes. Yeah, there are a couple of technical questions. Do we have a formula for what is perceived to be a realistic return on investment for job creation, in the sense of one job created per, say, $50,000 or $100,000 granted, or 5 jobs per $100,000? Do we have a specific formula?
No, because this is not industry specific, each industry will be different. And also we're looking at diversification and resilience of your business as well. So there's no set formula that we're using as a dollar value per job.
Stephen Gill here. I'm not sure whether it's rude to interrupt the flow. Stephen Gill from Maxima Pearling Company. I had a question about IP. How does the program manage IP, and does or can a business retain all of the IP through a project?
So Stephen, that's probably a specific question that we'd need to understand a bit more detail on it. I'm sure that there is a section in the end of the guidelines about IP, but I am not across the detail sufficiently to answer that question. So I'd need to get back to you. If you can flick us an email or give the business.gov.au a call on that particular one, because I think it's a bit more complex.
No worries, thanks for that.
Sorry.
Thanks, Brenda. That wraps it up from the questions end from here.
Excellent. Okay. Well, look, thank you so much for joining us. Up on the screen, you will still see our contact details. So there's an address you can go to sign up for our e-news, which will keep you informed of the program, opening and dates and closing for assessment batches. It will also keep you informed of other programs that are being rolled out for Northern Australia. There's a regional connectivity program that will be rolled out later this year. So please sign up for our newsletter if that's of interest. We also have Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube details up on the screen. So please have a look and keep yourself informed. And we really look forward to seeing some fabulous project plans come through, and look forward to awarding grants next year. Thank you. Linda, did you have any final words?
Oh, no, not at all. Just to echo your sentiments about our excitement about the program. We're really very proud of this program, and we think it's going to make a huge difference in the North. So we're very much looking forward to your applications. And thank you for your participation today, and particular thanks to the crew here at ONA who have fought off most of my IT inabilities to bring you this webinar today. So thanks again, and hope to see applications shortly.
Thank you.